and stay seated during our speaker. Now help me enthusiastically welcome tonight's speaker, Craig.
Thank you, Chris. My name's Craig and I'm an alcoholic. I don't know if I'll use this or not, but I thought I'd look right anyways, carrying my big book, let you know I have one, and a 12 and 12, and a chip. Thanks, Mike, for asking me out. I think I was the first speaker at this meeting, at the very first meeting, and there was bad weather then, worse, actually. It took a four-wheel drive truck. We were pushing snow all the way here, but there was 4 times as many people. I don't know how that happened. No, not really. There wasn't very many, but we were here. So it's an honor and a privilege to share from the podium for Alcoholics Anonymous. And I know most of you here, or a good number of you, and you still came to hear me anyways, even though you heard it. You know, I only have one story, and like my sponsor told me way back, he said, you only got one story, Craig, and the only way it changes is if you go back out. So, hopefully that ain't happening. I don't plan on it. Welcome, or congratulations on the chip getters. That's awesome. I think there was one under a year and 1 year, 2 years, Matt. That's awesome. You're over the terrible twos and well into your 3rd year. So everything I say tonight is in hindsight, okay? I'm 37 years sober. Sobriety date 2/28/87. I didn't pick it, God picked it. I would have picked it way towards the front of a month, because like this month, I had like 2 days. I was telling my wife, I said, I get to celebrate the whole rest of the month. She goes, yeah, tomorrow. And I said, yeah, but I mean, and I'll tell you, early on, and still some even today, wanting to get my recognition that, every group that I belong to, almost, with the exception of my first one, they want to celebrate birthdays the last Tuesday, the last Wednesday, the last whatever of the month. Well, my anniversary doesn't always happen on the last anniversary in the month. So then I get to wait till the next month. And there's just something about celebrating on your anniversary, at least for me, that really drives home the gratitude. But trust me, I am full of gratitude tonight. I'll tell you a little bit about my day. It's nothing like my days before I got here, but I woke up this morning and went out to the living room with my wife and had a cup of coffee, and we do a couple readings and do a little meditation. And, that's how I started my day. I went to an eye doctor, got a great report. I did not get my eyes checked till my first year of sobriety, and that was because of the direction of my sponsor. He said, do not go to the doctor in the first year unless it's an emergency. He says, your numbers will be off the charts, your eyes will change, your enzymes will change, your blood work will change, everything will change. Don't go to the doctor. They'll put you on pills. And so I adhered to that. And to my surprise, my first year when I did go, it was the first time I got glasses. So I was like, yikes. But anyways, I was 30 years old and I started wearing glasses. But so anyways, I did that. I got to drive up here from Gilbert, Arizona. I am from Gilbert, Arizona. My home group's in Gilbert. I have a sponsor. My sponsor knows he's my sponsor. I sponsor guys. They know I'm their sponsor. And I still attend at least 3 meetings a week. And usually that's, usually it's 4 or 5. But, that's me. So I got to come up here. I got to see my mom. My mom's 90 years old. I got to play some cards with her. Got to go home. Got to cook her dinner and spend some time with her before I got dressed. Oh, and I went and checked on my place here, and which Garrett's been looking out. Very good for me, thank you. But I looked at my hot water heater and I got a leak, and I thought, darn. So anyways, luxury problems, right? Luxury problems. But I am an alcoholic, and I did drink, and we'll talk about that. So I told you my sobriety day, I told you I got a sponsor. I wear a suit because I didn't have a suit when I got here. I remember my sponsor told me to go buy a suit, and it was not for going on interviews, I can assure you that. It was for going to funerals. We went to a lot of funerals, and there was a lot of bodies back then and a lot of caskets, and not so much like today where there's pitchers or urns with ashes. And the second kid, I was pallbearer twice in my first 2 years of sobriety. And the second, he was 25, and he died of liver failure and hepatitis. And I thought, my God. And my sponsor made me touch him. He said, that's untreated alcoholism. He said, it will kill you and it will kill me. And it scared me because I didn't think he could be any physically harder on the human body than what I was, and this kid was dead. Mine was Jack Daniels, a fifth, and then go out, some little white pills to help me keep going. 3 days is the max I could go, the very max, and really it was probably 2.5, and then I would crash for that long. So, I just was shocked that this kid was dead at such a young age. But I'll back up some because I was not born in Arizona. I was born and raised in Wyoming, okay, with a mom and dad, with 5 other siblings, and normal childhood as far as I knew it. No big deals. I had 4 brothers and a sister. I knew where they were at. I knew where mom and dad was at, and pretty much unscathed through school and stuff like that. A couple minor incidences, and I tell this only because before I even picked up a drink, in 2nd grade, I had the biggest marble collection on the playground, okay? Now that's dating myself, okay? But I had a shoebox full of marbles and steelies and cat eyes, and a lot of them were brand new. A lot of them hadn't even been used. And but it was important that I had more than anybody else, and I had bigger ones and prettier ones than anybody else. And the way I got them wasn't by being good at marbles. Mom had a coin collection that I found, and I just happened to find it before it went missing. And but I would only take a couple at a time, and I'd go down to the Woolworths and I'd buy some marbles and I'd put them in my collection. And then anyways, one night at the dinner table, mom and dad said, well, we think the babysitter's stealing from us. I thought, right on. Now I got, free reign, right? So I really loaded up. Anyways, mom found out, and man, she whipped my ass. I mean, I thought she was never gonna stop. But, and I don't think I could ever tell a lie and look you in the face after that. But, and I hadn't even taken a drink up to this point. But, my brother, I had a watch, but I told everybody at school I had 2 watches, so I stole my brother's watch, went to school, showed it to everybody, and so I got 2 watches, So something's not right up here way before I ever find alcohol. I found alcohol someplace between 7th and 8th grade. She had left me, broke up with me, and I found alcohol and pot, and I didn't need anything else. I was off to the races, drink her away and smoke her away. And anyways, what alcohol did for me was it just allowed me to breathe. It just allowed me to be. I always thought I was less than you or I was better than you, but I was never equal to you. Now, when I drank, I just felt, I didn't care. I didn't care. And I loved it. And, at that age, I didn't, become a daily drinker right away. I can tell you I drank as often as I could get it. At that age, we got pot and other stuff easier, and I did that stuff. And this is about all I said about the drugs. I smoked pot every day for 3 years in high school. I never liked it, never wanted to do it, but my peers were doing it. I thought if I did not do it, they would think I was a narc, And then I hate it when I have to pass it, especially to a girl, because I always shake and I'm real nervous, and I got the little roach, and the other thing, I felt like a psychiatrist when I smoked. I would sit in the couch, and then I knew what all you were thinking, and then I'd get hungry, But what I had to drink to get rid of that, because I didn't like that feeling. I want to drink, and I want to get up, and I want to go somewhere, and I want to be somebody. And that's why you hear about us alcoholics so much in the newspapers and on the news, is because we ain't sitting on the couch being part of the couch. We're out there doing it. And that's what I was doing it. So I made it through high school, no big deals, expelled once, ran away from home. Ran away from home because parents grounded me, and I asked a girl on a date, and I couldn't let her know that my parents had control over me. So I told them, I said, do anything, beat me, ground me later, do whatever. But me and her was going to this concert, and so they didn't let up. And so I left home that night. I left a little note, leave me alone, and I'll finish school anyways. And so I went to the concert, and they were at the front door. I knew they would be. I was in a car, and I had the mirror there, but I had a fifth of Jack Daniels and a pocket full of them white crosses. And by the time they were gone, I went in there, and I was wasted. And that was REO Speedwagon, by the way. That was many, many years ago. So, but I can tell you, after that, when I left home, I quickly drank a lot. I was able to get booze from the bar at a very early age. I always looked older than what I was. And if I didn't look older, most of the bars in Wyoming, if you just had the guts and the money, would just show up to the bar, they would serve you, as long as you weren't too crazy. Never had much of a problem there. I did graduate high school, and my parents came to my graduation. I didn't ask them to. They asked me if I wanted to move home because they had left town when I ran away. They moved to another town, and I thought, oh, I guess this is for real, And so I said, sure. I didn't have no place else to go. And that was in Casper, but we moved to Green River, Wyoming. Anybody ever hear of that? Very small town, Green River, Rock Springs. That is a drinking town, okay? It's a railroad town. It's an oil field town. It's a trona mine, and people work shift work 24 hours a day. You can walk down the street and carry a bottle of booze and open drink. Nobody will look at you twice. You can order mixed drinks out the window at the bar, and nobody will think twice about it. It's just, you can drink at 6 in the morning, 6 in the afternoon, just whenever. And that's what I did. And then to help it along, my dad owned a bar. I recommend that if you're alcoholic. And, I could drink top shelf booze as much as I wanted, as often as I wanted. And so I'm barely out of high school. I get a job at the railroad. I'm making great money. I get paid every Friday. And every Monday, I'm borrowing lunch money. And I have zero bills. I have no bills for a car payment, for rent, for clothes, for food, for nothing. I'm living at home, and I'm getting like $500 in top shelf booze when I am buying it in another bar is $1.25. And I'm not real generous. And I was just a pig. I drank a lot. So anyways, what we do in Wyoming is there's nothing going on in our town, so we go to your town to party. So we get in our truck, and I had just bought a new truck, and so we went over to this new town, and we're partying and just really tearing it up. And it was Christmas time, and we'd come back late, and I came to on a gurney with 2 cops to my left and my parents to my right, telling me my brother didn't make it. I was 20 years old, my brother was 18, and I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe that this was happening to me. You read about this, you hear about it, it happens to other people, never to me. And I immediately said I hurt. When I didn't hurt, they gave me something. I know pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization to my bone, to my core, to my soul. That was, what I said right there, when they told me, I said to myself, I said, alcohol killed my brother Carl, and it'll kill me too. And so this was in 77, and I got sober in 87. So I got 10 years of running and gunning, okay? I got several more DUIs. I didn't hurt anybody else, kill anybody else. But my solution to that accident, and that accident doesn't make me alcoholic. I was alcoholic way before. I was born alcoholic. I know that today. I didn't know it then. And my solution is I'm going to drink and drive, and I'm going to die. And they'll say, poor Craig, look what happened to him. Same thing happened to Carl, and it'll be over. Because alcohol was the only thing that allowed me to live with myself with what I had done that would shut this off for any period of time. And in the beginning, it would maybe, 12 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, anyways, not very long. But in the end, it was maybe 12 seconds. But even if it was 12 seconds, it was worth it because nothing else would shut this off. And trust me, I've seen all the doctors. My parents were pretty affluent. I've seen a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, sociologists, therapists. They gave me pills. They told me not to drink. You tell me not to drink, that means drink. Then I'm taking pills and drinking, but I can't wake up. I can't, them pills just make me sleep like 16 hours a day or longer. So I just throw the pills away. I throw the pills away and then I just drink. And I even told the doctor, I said, I ain't taking your pills. And alcohol works. When I pick up a bottle of bourbon, and I take about 3 healthy swigs, I can breathe. And I know it works, and I can get downtown now. I was never a normal drinker, whatever a normal drinker is. I don't know what that is, but I drank for the effect always. I didn't drink beer. When I drink beer and wine, that's when I consider myself quitting drinking. I drink liquor, and I drink lots of it, and that's what I like. And so, like I said, 10 years of that. And so now the alcohol quits working. The alcohol quit working for me just like it quit working for every one of you, or you wouldn't be here. Alcoholism is the same for all of us in the fact that we're powerless over it. But, when that happens, can be different for all of us. It can be many, many years. It can be a very short period of time. It can be lots of booze, not lots. It doesn't matter. But what matters is it quit working. Because if it was still working, you'd have a different speaker tonight. Just like you guys wouldn't be sitting here tonight if it was working. And so now alcohol quit working because alcohol will take the shakes away in the morning if I can keep it down. I drink in the shower because it might not stay down. And then if I can keep it down, then I can get sort of steady and then I can shave. But I also know that it's the alcohol that makes me shake, and it's just a paradox. It's just insanity. And so the alcohol quit working. So now I am going to do this. I'm going to kill myself. I didn't do that before. I didn't want to put my parents or my brother or sister through more pain. So I chose alcohol then, but now it doesn't work, so now I am going to kill myself. But I'm an academic, I got a college degree, college educated when I got here, very smart, damn near genius. Trust me, I was just so smart, I damn near missed this, and I went to the College Park group. That was my first group that I went to. I figured that's where all smart people would be, and I got my sponsor out of that group. I'll tell you about him. But I didn't come here because I wanted to get sober. I definitely did not come here because I wanted to get God. I did not believe in God. I was atheist. If there was a God, he made me an alcoholic. He made me kill my brother, and I'm going to ask him for help. I don't think so. Thank you very much. And not drinking that's not an option because all I ever do is drink. Drinking is my only answer for everything. If alcohol is your problem and you quit drinking and your problems go away, you are not an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. When I quit drinking, what happens is alcoholism surfaces to the top. I become restless, irritable, and discontent. Unless I can find here what I found in the drink, unless I can find the sense of ease and comfort that I found from taking a few drinks, unless I can find that here in Alcoholics Anonymous without drinking, I'm not going to make it. And I can tell you, I have found that. I've found that and much, much more. That's commercial for Alcoholics Anonymous. Clancy said it best. So anyway, I come here and I'm not going to do it because I want to be good, but I'm going to do it because I want to be bad. So in 87, there were addict alcoholics, but not as many of them. And so I came in here and everybody said they're alcoholic. I said, well, I'm Craig and I'm addict alcoholic. And in my mind, it's sort of, I'll see your alcoholism, I'll raise you one. It's sort of like I'm badder than you. And they let me get away with that about 3 times. And then this guy, John Frio, I still remember him today. He's probably about as old as I am now. And I'm 29. He comes up and he's thumping me in the chest. And I'm thinking, who the fuck is this old man? I'm gonna clock him. I'm gonna take him out. And he said, Craig, he said, this is AA. We say we're alcoholics here. We don't care what else you are. He said, if everybody here identifies everything they are other than alcoholic, we ain't gonna have time for a meeting. If you're an AA, say you're alcoholic. You're an NACA, some other meeting, say you're addict. We don't care. And he pissed me off. He hurt my feelings. They hurt my feelings a lot. They told us what to do. There's some people here that got sober when I did and before, and they didn't need another sponsee. They didn't care if they hurt my feelings. They knew if I didn't get this, I was going to die. Because Gordy, I had to impress him with how smart I was. He said, really, Craig? He said, well, how come you're in AA on Friday night? I didn't have an answer for that. They didn't give us an answer for that in college. He said, let me tell you something about degrees on an alcoholic. He said, it's sort of like curly Q on a pig. Adds a little bit of flair and not much meat. He said, there's degrees on a thermometer. He goes, you know where they stick those? And then he told me, he said, you're not going to say anything. You are not going to say anything in a meeting. You know why? Because you don't know anything. He said, we're talking about recovery, and if we want to know about drinking or drugging, we'll ask you, but we pretty much have that down. He says, I take that back. You can say something. He said, if you get called on, you can state your name and your disease, and then you'll pass. For the first 6 months, that's what I did. Except for one meeting, somebody asked me to read the 5th chapter, so I read the 5th chapter. And I got home, and he called, Craig, I heard you talking in the meeting. And I said, I was reading. He goes, yeah, that's all right. He goes, I'm just letting you know I know. He knew everybody. This is in Phoenix. He knew everybody in that valley. And he spoke a lot, and he took me a lot. He also, he lined me out. He says, you're going to sit in the front 2 rows of the meeting. You don't get up to get coffee. You don't interrupt the meeting. You don't get up and go to the bathroom. You don't talk to women. You don't get women's phone numbers. You're going to read 2 pages out of this every day. You're going to call me every day. You're going to go to a meeting every day. You're going to ask for help. I said, I don't believe in this God stuff. He said, I didn't ask you to believe. He says, you're going to do lip service. He says, you're going to ask for help in the morning. If you don't drink, you're going to thank him at night. And I went home that night with my 5 days of sobriety, and I got on my knees. I closed the door. Nobody else was there. Turned out the lights. I said a prayer. This is what I said. I said, God, whoever you are, whatever you are, if you're out there, please help me not to drink, because I'd rather die than go on living the way I've been living. And something happened in that room. Something happened that I felt warm. A thought came to my mind that if I just don't drink, everything was going to be okay. That thought did not come out of my head because I did not want that to be the answer. That was the only answer I ever had, like I told you, was drinking. And then the other miracle was I went to another meeting the next day. I can tell you from that day to this, I've not wanted to drink, not once. Doesn't mean I've never had a drunk dream. Doesn't mean I haven't, seen billboards or, this or that. And I will. I had a brother that got in trouble, my oldest brother. He'd come to AA about 90 days after me. He went to 7 meetings, and then he never went to another meeting. And I was telling him all this stuff my sponsor's telling me. I said, you got to go. If you don't go, you're going to get drunk. You got to do this. You got to get a meeting. You got to go to the literature. You got to, you got to. And anyways, of course, he didn't listen. And but 7 years after that, he picked up a drink. And he got in trouble, and he went away for a long time. He went to prison for 14 years. And when they sentenced him, and we're all in the room, and the rest of my family said, they said, they said, I need a drink. And so for a split second, a fleeting second, I had the thought, if a drink would make this go away, I would want to pick up a drink. But the drink ain't gonna make this going away, and it's just gonna still be here tomorrow, and it'll be worse. There ain't nothing that I can do today that not drinking won't make better. And there ain't nothing that a drink won't make worse. There just isn't. So, Gordy was tough, or Gordy saved my life. He was what I needed. Was he a spiritual guru? I don't know, but he was what I needed. He was unattached to my stuff. He told me the truth, and he just laid it on the line. And we would meet once a week, and we'd go through this book, and he saved my life. Now, when I went over there to do my first, fourth, and fifth step, and I remember it. I remember it today like it was yesterday, really. I went to him at 60 days sober and had him line me out of how to write the fourth step, because I wanted to get through it, because I heard people talk about it. People didn't talk about being afraid of it or the fear. People talked about getting free. People talked about knowing why they drank, and I wanted to know. If you would ask me why I drink, I said I love to drink because I love to party, I love to chase women, and I love to get drunk. And I can tell you, after doing my first fourth step, that was as far from the truth as it ever could have been. What happened was, though, at 6 months sober, to the day, I was to have a date with this girlfriend. Oh, I did have a girlfriend. Now, of course, Gordy, they would tell us back then, they said, don't make any changes in your first year. So if you're not living with somebody, don't move in. If you're living with somebody, don't move out. If you're married, don't get divorced. If you're divorced, don't get married, and all this. And then I asked Gordy Gordy just told me, he goes, well, the truth is we don't know if it works or not because nobody's ever done it, And so what I did, I wanted to get through the steps so I could have a relationship. But anyways, I'm in the dating stage, whatever you want to call it, which there's no dating for alcoholics. We take hostages. Here's a joke everybody's heard. How you can tell if an alcoholic's on the second date, the U-Haul's in the driveway, right? Yeah, So I'm going with her, and we're to have a date this night. I'm 6 months sober, rah. And she leaves a note on my door saying, sorry, we can't do this. I forgot I promised the day to myself. And I thought, what? How is she gonna have more fun by herself than with me? And and I just went ballistic. And I went and I was writing down, I was trying to write hateful notes, letters to her, and it wasn't coming. But I went in the bathroom and I said, God help me. Because if it doesn't get any better than this, I'm 6 months sober, I ain't drinking, and it ain't better. It ain't better. Matter of fact, it's a lot worse because it is feelings, and I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling all of it. Clear up to here, and there is no relief. And so I said that prayer, I went out the kitchen table to write, and I wrote my first fourth step. And the pen just flowed, and I wrote out what I needed to write. Now, was it perfect? Maybe not, Probably not at 6 months, but it was enough. It was enough. I talked to God that night if he was there. I talked to my brother as if he was there. I cried for the first time as a sober adult, and I just felt comfortable. I slept the whole night through, and I called my sponsor in the morning, told him what had happened, and he said, well, I think we're ready for the 5th step. So we set up a date to go over there, and I went, and I was scared. I was shaking. I took my big book and I had my tablet, and I was just scared to death. I didn't know what was going to happen or whatever. But I go in there and we go up to a room upstairs and we get on our knees and we say the 3rd step prayer. And he just assures me, he says, anything that is shared here is not going anywhere else. And so he said, he goes, well, just tell me what you're not going to tell me, you know. What, you know, because I thought that would at least maybe be at the last, you know. But so I told him, you know, worst thing I ever done. I was drinking and driving. My brother died, and when I shared that with Gordy, and I never heard him share his story, this part of his story from the podium. When he was a teenager, he was in an accident and killed 2 teenagers, and he knew exactly how I felt. He had been to the graveyards. He had been to the parents' house. He had tried to make the amends. He had felt the pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization, the remorse that, you know, it just trying to, anyways, he knew exactly how I felt. And it just put me at ease. We went through the rest of it, which was, you know, first one, pretty much family, a couple employers, all the women in my life ever, that, because, you know, when he first lined me out, it's just, who you mad at? Okay, good, I got a bunch of these. You know, why are you mad at him? Okay, I got that. What did it affect? Yeah, but fourth column, I couldn't see nothing in fourth column. But, so we're going through it, and he lets me talk myself out, and by the time I get to the last one, I'm like, all these people can't be wrong. The only, you know, constant factor in here is me. And it was such a, you know, I was scared to death of women. I was so scared that, you know, I was on hyper alert all the time. If I even thought that this relationship was going sideways, I don't know if you ever seen Pay It Forward, but where that guy, he rejects her before she even has a chance to, you know, I mean, that was me. I'm like, I'm out of here, you know, or there's probably many of them that didn't even know what the hell I was doing, you know. But so anyways, it was a huge, huge relief. You know, the big book says we'll be delighted. I was delighted. I was so delighted. I was levitated. I mean, for 2-3 days, anything you said, did, whatever, be like water off a duck's back. I mean, you just could not affect me. It was that profound. Now, I've done many since, and I've had a chance to, you know, make amends and do a lot of things, but the power of that was life-changing, you know. Do these steps and do them to the best of your ability, because it changes your life, you know. I mean, I've been here 37 years. God, I have such a beautiful life, you know, and it goes by so quick, you know. I didn't think I would, 35, my motto was live fast, die young, and leave a good-looking corpse, you know. I really thought, you know, I'd be dead by 35. I really didn't think that this would ever work, you know. They used to say there's only three types of people that can't get sober. Those that are too young, those that are too good looking, and those that have too much money. Those that are too smart, you know. I thought I was at least 2 out of 3, you know, heck. But you know, I had to stay here. I had to do the work, and even though a lot of it has taken a long time, had I known it was going to take what it was going to take when I got here, I wouldn't have stayed. But yet that's not true, because it's been worth every bit of it and more and more. You know, I can tell you, I got a home group. My home group was very involved. Maryville group, we were called the 4th Intergroup when I first got sober in West Valley down in Phoenix. You know, we had business meetings, you know, like once a quarter, and they were 8 hours long. You know, we had a potluck, and we went over everything. We had 7 past delegates, you know, and everybody there was steeped in the traditions and steeped in the concepts, and you know, and of course here I am, new guy on the block, you know, and what's nice, you got a voice when you get here. No, you got one day sober, you got a voice, unless you got my sponsor. But I mean, you got a voice in the home group, you know, and every time, you know, even my first time making coffee, you know, I made regular coffee, and then they said, well, Craig, Maryville has decaf coffee. And I said, well, not anymore. And they said, well, we'll have business meeting. So we had business meeting after, and I sort of tied that one because they said, well, you can make decaf and regular. So I thought, okay, because I don't want my whiskey watered down. I don't want my coffee watered down. You know, I don't want my AA watered down, you know. And then the 18-month chip just came out when I had 18 months in that period, like a week or a month or so. So me and my buddy had 18 months. So I went down to the intergroup and got us some 18-month chips. And I gave them to me and Rodney that night. And then they said, Craig, Maryville doesn't give 18-month chips. I said, well, they do now. And they said, well, we got to have a meeting. So we had a business meeting and I lost. Oh, I was pissed. I had a resentment. I don't think I put that money back in the basket for 5-6 years at least. I was that pissed. But now I'm just as bad as them because I call it the whiner's chip. You know, you got to get a full year to get a year anniversary. I used to tell Gordy, you know, these birthdays, they would have them. They'd have the cake and they'd sing and turn out the lights and blow out the candles. And I told Gordy, I said, that's nice that we have birthdays and everything. But I said, you know, is it really that big a deal? He said, if you don't think it's a big deal, just try to get you one, you know. And I tell you, I love birthdays. I still love my birthday. Now, you know, maybe not every year at this stage, but I mean, every year you got to have the years to have the in-betweens to get the fives, you know, but it's a miracle, you know. You don't have to be here very long. Everybody sitting here knows somebody that's died of this disease, you know. I can tell you I got involved with H&I prisons and institutions. And I'd never gone to prison, nothing, you know. They slapped me on the hand. The judge told me at my court, you know, she said, poor you lost your brother, you hurt your leg, hurt your head. You know, they didn't do anything. And, but I wanted to, well, I went to the jails. I did that for a short while, but in the jails, really all they did, you'd go in there and then the guys would get in the back and they'd smoke and talk smack, and they rotated every week. We'd have somebody new. And I said, I want to go where I have somebody's attention for a while. Gordy says, well, we'll go to prison. I said, okay, good. So we got badged, and getting badged is not an easy process. If you're not badged, go try it. And keep copies of your paperwork, because they'll lose it at least once and probably twice. And you know, they make it difficult because they don't want us in there because it's extra work for them. But you got to remember, we're not doing it for the system, we're doing it for the inmates. You know, but anyway, so I got through that process and we started doing it. And I loved it. I loved it, you know. I just would go out there and tell my story. And I'll be honest, initially when I started, it was out of pride and arrogance, you know, like I have this horrific story and I'm gonna heal these guys. I'm gonna help these guys, you know. And then I sort of get into this preaching stage, you know, to where I'm preaching, I'm not sharing, and then them ungrateful. They're not. You know, I used to take cigarettes and bribe them. You know, we could take cigarettes back then, but I wouldn't give them cigarettes till after the meeting, you know. But I'm working with a guy out there named Rocky, and Rocky is doing 10 years flat for double vehicular manslaughter that he didn't remember. And when he shared that with me, he leveled me, he humbled me. I should be wearing orange and I should be sitting in the same chair he is. Because the truth is, I don't know what happened in my accident. I blacked out. You know, I know what I told them. I was messing with the tape deck. That's the last thing I remember. But anyways, there was 4 of us in the front of that truck. 3 of us went out the front windshield, but the rest of us barely got hurt. You know, and my brother's dead. You know, figure that out. But when Rocky said that, man, he leveled me. And so when I started going back to the prisons, and I started going with a different attitude, you know, and not of trying some guy setting up here. And alcoholics know. You know, my sponsor told me, he said, Craig, he says, you can tell an alcoholic, just can't tell him very much. And I said, that's the truth, you know. You can't scare an alcoholic. You can't preach to an alcoholic. You can't threaten an alcoholic. You can't bribe them. You know, we share. And then, you know, if it resonates with me, then I think, okay. Because I can tell you, I started doing Lewis, and this is later on, and then now they got the attendance sheets and their jackets and whatnot to sign. And so the room comes in, and the room pretty full. So I tell all these guys, I said, I'm not here for, you know, if you guys want to be here, I want you here. But if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. I'll sign your jacket anyways. And all of them got up and walked out, except for about 2 or 3. I thought, oh, but I had to be a man of my word, right? So now I'm sharing with the 2 or 3 that are there. But I can tell you, I stayed out there, and a lot of those guys came back in their rooms. A lot of those guys, you know, came in it. And I can tell you, I was at a meeting years later, 18, 20 years later, at 2121, and we're going into this meeting. This guy taps me on the shoulder, and he says, I need to talk to you after the meeting. I said, okay. And, you know, the whole meeting, I'm thinking, I don't know this guy. Do I owe him amends? You know, do I sleep with his wife? You know, I don't know. And so afterwards, he comes up to me. He goes, you don't remember me, do you? And I said, no, I don't. He says, well, I was wearing orange last time you saw me. He goes, I want to tell you that I have a job and I have a wife and I'm sober because of you. And you can't buy that kind of high. You can't, I mean, I was always chasing that feeling when I was drinking and drugging and whatever. And, you know, and the truth is you rarely get to see, you know, where it takes seed. You know, you might plant the seed, but you rarely get to see it come to fruition. Anyways, that was just, you know, that was great. I can tell you some of the other things that happened here. I was very prejudiced when I got here. Very prejudiced. Born and raised in Wyoming. I was white and right. And if you are, you are. If you're not, you're not. And I was very prejudiced against Mexicans. When I was 9 years old, we were on food stamps. Mom and dad split up. And so me and my brother's walking home with the groceries, and these 2 Mexicans say they're going to cut off our fingers and take our groceries. I'm 9 years old. I believe them. And it scared me to death, you know. And so I hate them for that. And I can tell you, one of the first guys I got here I was working with was Mexican Johnny. Johnny grew up at 12th Street in Van Buren, and he had a horrific story. When I heard his fist, I thought, why is he even alive? You know, Johnny lifted his shirt, and he said, that's a knife wound, that's a gun wound. He had a plate in his head. He was left for dead, and a drug deal gone bad. And, you know, he couldn't read or write. I helped him learn how to read and write and help him get through the steps. And we'd go into a restaurant, and he'd say, Craig, you want me to kick their ass? He said, they're dissing you. I said, no, Johnny. We quit fighting, you know. But, you know, and then the gays, I was very homophobic, okay? Very homophobic. And then I heard there were some in the rooms. And so then I tried to like get between 2 women when we say the Lord's Prayer. And I don't know, I guess maybe I thought I was going to catch it or something. And you know, and so this guy, he asked me to sponsor him, Joel. And I said, okay, I take him to the restaurant. I read him the riot act, do what my sponsor did for me. And then I asked him where he goes to meet. And he goes, well, I go to Mid-City and I go to Lambda. And I said, you what? I said, are you gay? He goes, yeah. He goes, I got to be honest, don't I? I said, yeah. I said, well, I'll be honest with you. 5 years ago, I'm out of here. So I said a prayer because I didn't know what else to do. And this is what came to me. I don't get up here and say, my name's Craig and I'm heterosexual and I'm an alcoholic. So I told Joel, I said, as long as you don't have an attraction towards me, we can go through these steps. And so he said he didn't. And then I didn't know if that was a compliment or an insult. I was like, damn. The full circle of that, at 14 years sober, my brother is captain in the Air Force, played football, just had masters in divinity. And then he came to me with a stack of books, and he told me he was gay. And I said, that's all right, Kevin, just be who you are. I love you anyways. That could not have happened. That would not have happened without Alcoholics Anonymous. I have made my amends to all my family, to all my friends. I don't owe an amends that I know of, and if I do, I'm willing to make it. I made it took me 7 years to make my financial amends. My sponsor, he was just a nosy guy. He wanted to know how much I made, how much is in my checking account, how much is in my savings account, everything, taxes, and I told him everything. And I don't know why, because I never told anybody anything. The teachers tried to help me, judges tried to help me, lawyers, counselors, therapists, and I just sit there and, you're so smart, figure it out, fix me, But the things that I've gotten to do here, I get to travel. Oh, I might stop. Okay, I get to travel the world. I live a charmed life. I've been grossly overpaid. Because of Alcoholics Anonymous. I thank God for AA. I thank you people for showing me my God. Thank you.